Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what is up? We got ourselves the finest Tuesday of all time, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. It's November 20th, 2017. It's time to learn some StarCraft. Oh my god, let's gross a small number of people out. It didn't even make a noise. My neck is made of Laffy Taffy. In today's episode, I want to talk about what I think is the most technically difficult aspect of Zerg vs. Terran, which is getting to the mid-game. You've seen me show this broad strokes of ZvT in almost every Zerg vs. Terran focused video. And today, Mr. Laffy Taffy Neck Sean is going to talk about the art of going from this Phase 2 to this Phase 3. In the Zerg vs. Terran core strategy video, we talked about this in significant depth, justified why and what the timings were of the early game stage. And to just review that at a very brief level, in the early game, both Zerg and Terran can get up an expansion, and there's not really much that each can do to mess with the other. Marines in bunkers or Marines in chokes, like on a ramp, can defend against Zerglings well enough. Zerglings with speed can deal with Marines well enough. So in the early game, this is why people build up. If we skip to Phase 3, what Zerg is trying to do is Zerg's trying to get to 3 bases with Defiler. Because once you throw down those Dark Swarms, you are invincible to as many Marines as are thrown at you. Lurkers under Dark Swarm, Zerglings under Dark Swarm. You're protected and safe, and you can start from those 3 bases as a launch pad to get into the late game. And the Terran wants to continue to pressure and expand. But it's this Phase 2, this late early game, getting to mid-game, that's particularly tricky because after both players build up, Terran, in this Phase 2, is the first of the 2 races to get the big power spike. Medics, supporting Stim Marines, wind up being terrifying to face. They can kill almost any Zerg defense in any position. And Zerg doesn't have the invincibility of the Dark Swarm, and often doesn't have the opportunity to get Lurkers into the good position. So what we're going to do is look at a lot of Zerg vs. Terran games and look at how to get to the mid-game. That is today's topic, how to get to the mid-game, specifically as Zerg, and of course this will give us plenty of lessons from the Terran side of things too. Got my stuff unmuted? Let's get into the game. Here we go. We're going to watch a crap load of videos, replays from By Hero. And to do this, I'm going to be talking through all of it with this unusually large water mug that was provided to me as literally, Sean, you're at a stream for long hours of the day, and you like to drink water. Here's about 1 liter. So it's amazingly heavy, but that's fine. I'm a big, tough guy. So this is By Hero, the ASL4 finalist. And down here in the bottom left is Haya, who is one of these super all-star Terran players. Both in the old era of Brood War, you know, before it got sort of revitalized in 2014 and 15. And so he was an old school great. He's also a new school great. Haya's amazing. We're going to go past the very early game stages. There's also a bug in the StarCraft 2 map editor that causes this to flicker on and off. So I think I've fixed it by now. So we talked about some of the early game qualities where we would see, oh, Command Center comes out with 2 barracks, very common. We see the Zerg getting some 3 hatches. I'm going to literally warp speed through these early game periods of time, but we're just going to talk about some ultra basics of the early game because, you know, we want to have some context for what's going on. Terran player is doing a pretty normal looking build. It's kind of hard to see, but in this corner there is an academy so that Haya can get early Stim and early Marines in order to apply some pressure. So right when we get to about here in the game is where I just want to take a look. I want to take a sort of glance at what's going on. This is the start of Phase 2. This is the start of the struggle to get to 3 bases, to get to Defilers, to be able to have enough of an economy to begin working towards the late game. Not enough of an economy to just win, just kind of like your starting point. So this is typically where Zerg is at, where Zerg will have a variety of speed Zerglings. Not huge varieties, but it's generally like 6 to 12. It's not 30 speed Zerglings or something like that. And all Zerg has been doing is trying to build drones and get 2 gas geysers up in order to get to Mutalisks. Now, the first thing that winds up happening very often in this period of time as you're trying to get to the mid-game is sometimes you will see the Terran player moving out with a bunch of Marines and medics. In this specific example, the Terran's moving out pretty quickly with Marines and medics. And by pretty quickly, I mean that the Terran went for 2 barracks. And if we're currently at 5 minutes and 24 seconds, let me just back up just a brief bit to 5 minutes. This is 20 seconds earlier. Terran literally went 2 barracks and then straight for an academy. Terran didn't go for an engineering bay. Terran didn't build 1 barracks and then save up and build 5. Terran didn't go for a factory. Terran went straight for an academy. So this is one of the variations that you will possibly encounter as a Zerg player, is a Terran who goes for an academy quickly to get medics, and then move out for a little bit of an attack. Whenever you, the Zerg player, see this, it's a great idea to build some sunken colonies. And you may be saying to yourself, well, yeah, obviously. Yeah, no, I know. Like, sunken colonies are a good defensive structure. But I want to note something really important. For one, these sunken colonies are only built now. These haven't been morphed. They've actually only just been started and will be shortly turned into sunkens. In times of yore, a lot of Zerg players just built 4 sunken colonies. Just it didn't matter what Terran was doing, just build 4. Woo! Hooray! This is a lot of money thrown away. This is 75, 150, 225 just for the creep colonies, and then another 150 for the drones that were produced, and then another 150 to turn those into sunken colonies from creep colonies. That adds up. That's almost 600 minerals. It's a little over 500. Just to build these, and let's not forget the lost mining time of the drone. So one of the things that I want to begin with is a very simple lesson. Don't build these damn creep colonies until you start to get a good sense of Marines and medics moving out. We'll see variations on this as time goes on, but this is the simplest game that I could find to begin things off. Already look at this technique. I should frame everything that's going to happen here, right? There's 2 goals that Zerg has. Get the 3rd base and the defilers and the lurkers. What is it that Zerg's trying to get done? And how does Zerg not die? These are the 2 goals. Get the things I want, don't die. This lesson about the creep colonies and the sunken colonies, this is a don't die component. Terran players that are moving out early, you don't have anything else to defend with other than lings and defensive structures. And it's not only okay, but it's a very good thing to do to build these. You don't really need you really need your gas for Mutalisks, so it's okay to spend minerals to try to stay alive. But this little move right here that Zerg does, Zerg comes at this from the side, so that these units come to the right. Instead of these Terran units going up towards the base, they go right, which is away from the base. Coming in from angles is a great way to buy time. During this period of trying to get to the mid-game, in fact, most of what Zerg has is really nice, cool tactics in order to try to stay alive. So while Zerg is doing this, we see like a little overlord over here. Zerg would ideally like to expand to this top right area. Let's take a look at some of the ways in which Zerg continues to do this. See, look at this. Zerg coming in from the side, trying to cause these Marines to chase downward, trying to pressure the front, maybe make Terran panic. All the while, Mutalisks are getting built. Despite the fact that this is almost no Zerglings, these Zerglings are doing an excellent, excellent job delaying all of these Marines and medics to go. We just heard a scan, and if we actually take a look, this is a very common move for Terran players who are trying to be aggressive will do. They'll move out and go, where the hell should I place these medic Marine? Should I go attack the front? I scanned it. Oh, nope, never mind, never mind. There's sunken colonies there. Let me just briefly check if some stuff is up. And during this phase, the big thing Zerg is trying to do is to get these Mutalisks up and out, and they are the primary protecting tool to get this drone into a 3rd expansion. I'll tell you the gist of what Zerg's going to do now that we've seen this much of the game. Nice little net crackies. Zerg is trying to delay with Lings and Mutas while the expansion gets started, and then sturdily defend with Lurkers until Defilers come up. So again, Ling Muta to try to get up the expansion, Lurkers to defend, and then Defilers to secure. Okay? Ling Lurker, excuse me, Ling Muta, expand Lurker, Defiler. So let's look at some of the ways in which we see this represented both in the tactics of the Ling Muta, which is far and away the most complex, as well as with the build orders. So this expansion is not down yet as the Zerg player. This expansion is not at all a timing thing. Zerg does not need to start this by 7 minutes, or start it by 6, or start it by 12. Zerg needs to just get this at some point. If you're feeling pressured, don't rush to get this. Just wait. Look at Hero. Hero's waiting. Hero's waiting until all these Terran forces have retreated all the way back home, and now Hero is going to take his third base. Hero is also getting a Hydralisk Den while all of his Mutalisks are currently going to harass, but also, notably, as is the modern trend, you get the Hive super fast too. Super fast Hive. That's what this Queen's Nest is for. The simultaneous Queen's Nest and Hydralisk Den is commonplace in modern Zerg vs. Terran. Now let's take a look at why. We see the Mutalisks have arrived, and there's a ton of turrets. I'll tell you a truth now, and we'll see it in practice later. If these Mutalisks arrive and there's not turret support, Terran loses the entire game. We'll literally see this happen in a moment. But this is where you have to just learn good Mutalisk control as a Zerg player. As the Zerg, one of the things that it might seem like you're trying to do is to kill workers or kill Marines. No. These are here to buy time so that this drone can grow up big and strong as a hatchery. Notice still, Lurker is started. Queen's Nest is almost done, and by Hero will immediately make a Hive after this. And the expansion's not started. In other words, if you're playing, don't think, holy shit, I have to prioritize this drone becoming a hatchery. No. Prioritize Lurkers, prioritize the Hive, and make sure this third gets started eventually. We're going to see this happen in so many different ways, because I think I'm going to show like 12 replays. All of Hero as well. So these Mutalisks, this is great. See these Marines that are getting a little isolated, like this little straggling medic? Maybe this is a pretty good formation from Terran. But maybe we'll see a weakness come up in a moment. Hero's just looking for any weakness to buy time. Any weakness to buy time. And this is a very difficult skill to develop, Mutalisk Micro. Next week, we're actually going to look at some Mutalisk Micro techniques because it's so foundational. But picking off the medic. Sending in a small handful of Zerglings. 6. Why? So that way there can be good volleys of Mutalisk fire. Right now, again, some weakness in the formation. 3 straggling Marines that don't have enough health. Hero's just looking. He's looking. While this is happening, there's a very quiet and important thing that occurred, which I need you to see, because this is an essential move. Hydralisk Den finishes, start Lurker Aspect, build not 1, but 3 Hydras, and rally them over to here. Just send them cross-map. You'll notice that Lurker is not done yet. That's okay. Hive got started super fast. We see more structures like the Evo Chamber happening. All Hero's doing is taking these 11 Mutalisks and harassing, finding weakness, trying to... Oh, there's some Marines that are being isolated, that are straggling. 1 Mutalisk has fallen. Okay, now there's nothing here around the supply depot. Cool, no problem. Hatchery's almost done, and look, our Hydralisks have arrived. We'll see what those will do in a moment. I don't want to explain it, I can just show it in a moment. But I'd like you to see a really simple but essential thing that's happening with these Mutalisks right now. What is the job of these Mutalisks? Just lock this in your head. What is the job of the Mutalisks? I've said this already in this video. What is the job of these Mutalisks? These Mutalisks are here to protect this third base. That's it. That's all you're trying to do. In fact, if I open back up my beautiful slide, Zerg midgame is Zerg defends 3 base with Defilers. That's what he's trying to get to. He's just trying to buy time. These Mutalisks are not trying to harass the Terran base. If harassing the Terran base provides time to get the third up, then it's good. But as this Terran force is moving across, and a critical, painful mistake that many Zergs will make is, ooh, Marines left. Maybe I'll kill some missile turrets. Maybe I'll kill some workers. You know what? You will. And then you'll lose your damn third and lose the entire game. So this is extremely subtle, but obvious once it's said out loud. Hero's gonna follow these Marines. He's just gonna pick at the Marines. He's gonna try to follow these Marines. He's gonna try to delay these Marines. Why is this a delay? Well, the instant these start moving, these Mutalisks start harassing, the Marines have to run towards the Mutalisks, which often is not in the same direction of the hatchery. And we now see why 3 Hydralisks are sent. 2 to be burrowed on top of the ramp, and the third is the egg that blocks the ramp to make sure no Marines can go up. And it's literally dead middle of the ramp. If you're off a little bit, Marines can easily run up and you lose, but you'll get used to where the hell this lurker egg should build. And look at how elegant a sequence of moves this was for Hero. He built these Mutalisks. He found these straggling Marines as best he could. Wow, lots of straggling Marines there, great. He's going to assault this blob from behind it and from the sides, because when these Marines are running downward, they are not running upward to where the main base is, or upward to where this expansion is. They're not doing those things. So this is why Mutalisks are not sitting there trying to hit the Terran base. They're trying to pick away at this Terran force. We got some sunken colonies, we got a Nidus network. And what Terran's going to do here in a second is Terran is going to try to do just a big bust, because Terran detects some weakness. But I want you to appreciate at this 9-minute mark where Zerg is. Zerg has a Defiler mound started. Zerg has even snuck in a Carapace upgrade. Lurkers are done, Hive is done, obvious things. Zerg actually has a pretty good amount of defenses here. But look at the drone count. Zerg actually has not a huge amount of drones, but like 12 drones mining minerals and gas here. There's about 12 drones, a little over 12 drones mining minerals. A few in gas. The third base is done. There's lurkers at the front. There's a lurker here. There's more getting made. Appreciate how much tech and economy potential Zerg has. Zerg has 3 base. Zerg has a good amount of drones. Zerg has tech started. Zerg has Hive finished. That's amazing. But then appreciate the fact that Zerg really only built 11 Mutalisks, only has 3 sunken colonies, and I think only has like 4 lurkers with a 5th coming. Zerg has like almost no defense. Almost none. It's the timing, the arrangement, and the sequencing of these particular things that is enabling Zerg to get to mid-game. And you might be going, wait, I have some questions. Remember, this is the first of 12 replays we're going to be going through to see variations on this. Now, Zerg is not invincible, because Zerg is not yet at Defiler tech. Invincible's a super strong word, but for the purposes of this video, invulnerability! Mutalisks are still trying to hit stragglers, and we can sort of see now why it's so important to get up sunken colonies for defense here against large numbers of Marine medic. Mutalisks and sunken colonies are enough of a defense. They are enough of a defense. There's some tricky Mutalisk micro that is going on here. But it's the same theme. Weakening, slowing, delaying, trying to get little bits of value to buy time to get the Defilers. Of course, Consume is researched first, the ability that allows the Defiler to eat a Zergling and gain 50 energy. The bases get linked together for Nidus Canal. These haven't gotten burrowed for God knows what reason. I think basically because he was distracted. But what's this little move here? Few Zerglings. We can explain why these Zerglings were built. It's because Zerg was going, oh shit, I might lose. Oh fuck, and then build some Zerglings. But what's this little move? This is another delay move. Remember, the whole point of the Mutiling is to delay until Defilers are done with Dark Swarm. These are more little tactics to actually force the delay. Oh, look, tanks. Tanks are pretty good against lurkers. Let's pick that off. Nice job. That's a... Fuck, that was a really nice micro move. It is inexplicable to me why these haven't been burrowed yet. It technically hasn't mattered, but that really matters. Defiler's done. And we are now going to see the last big threat which can come, which is a Zerg player up against tanks, marines, medics. Often there is a science vessel here as well. And once the Dark Swarm's done, it's pretty straightforward from here on out as the Zerg player to just deflect this. You just keep throwing down Dark Swarms. By the way, question in chat was, why is the spawning pool damaged? The scouting SCV from Haya went behind the pool and just sat here and attacked it until it was down to half health. And we see that the Terran player in this particular game is electing to go for a mech transition. Here's 2 factories. This is a 3rd factory getting constructed right now. And Zerg is essentially okay. And I want to take a few steps forward. We're not going to watch this entire game because we want to just stay focused on the getting to mid-game portion. But notice how Zerg kind of rounds things out. Another hatchery to make sure that we can actually macro. There's quietly been more drones that have been built. You saw me box this. There were only about 11 or 12 drones total. Now we have 12 mining just minerals and more getting gas. 4th base down. Lurkers here. Where's the Defiler? Oh, it's on the other side of the Nidus Worm. Excuse me, Nidus Canal. Whoops, wrong game. In he goes. And big play by Terran to try to break through. But literally a single Defiler lives. Excuse me, a single Lurker lives. And Terran kind of has to pull back. Zerg's getting yet more nice upgrades out of 2 evolution chambers, is getting the Adrenal Gland, which removes the attack speed, or sets the attack speed for Zergling from 0.8 to 0.6, which is a... I can do this. What percentage of an increase is that? It's a 33% increase. Sorry, math is hard. That is a 33% increase to go from 0.8 to 0.6. Oh. Whew. Oh, God, 33% increase. Good Lord. Because if it were 8 seconds of time, he would have been able to get in 10 attacks. And he gets some 33% more attacks when it removes the attack speed from 0.8 to 0.6. Whew. Oh my gosh. Oh, math on stream. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, so Zerg is just rounding out all of the other key upgrades. And occasionally gets to actually do some plays like this. I see an alleyway where I can sneak a few units forward. Great. I'm going to do that. And now this entire expansion has been denied by Zerg. Great move. Great play from Zerg. Very hard to find this kind of thing for a Zerg player. And if we come back here, there's lots of Zerglings. More Hydras getting built. There's Defilers abound with Lurkers. Zerg has successfully lived and gotten to mid-game. What I want to do is look at some times where that's actually a little bit more difficult for the Zerg player to get a sense of how this might change. That may have looked pretty easy, but the whole purpose of this episode is to highlight how much of a challenge this is. What is the name of this particular replay? There it is. This is Hero, once again by Hero up against The Wind. It was a super good Terran player. not Windy, aka Major, aka the incredibly strong StarCraft 2 Mexican Terran who had 50,000 different aliases. Rather, this is the Wind, just a very good Terran player, up against By-Hero on the same map, Fighting Spirit. Most of these games are going to be on Fighting Spirit because Day Knight is the master of coming up with consistency. Let's speed through the early game. We already said in the core Zerg vs. Terran strategy video that 90% of all Terran plays, even higher than that, 95, are do something, instantly take a second base. There's no 2 barracks in main, there's almost no 1 factory in main base kind of stuff. Hero is going for 3 hatcheries, and then immediately going into a... Oh, sorry, his gas geyser's down here. You have to understand my shock when this hatchery became a layer when I didn't see a gas geyser. There it is, yes. Here is a slightly different opening that we're seeing out of the Wind. The last game was go for 2 barracks and an academy very quickly. This gets some Marines, but stim fast and medics fast. This build says go for an engineering bay, which gets a Marine count that is delayed, medics that are delayed, but it gets a fast +1, and it tries to line up that +1 upgrade with a whole bunch of Marines being produced out of 5 barracks. So a little bit of a different mid-game puzzle for Zerg to deal with. Zerg's still going for the Spire, and we can see that the Terran player is moving out with a small troop of things. The Zerglings are there, doing the same kinds of tactics. Notice the Zerglings are coming from the side, trying to pull the Marines backward. Maybe trying to pick off this medic. Great. Zerg says, well shit, I guess I'm just gonna go try to get a whole bunch of Sunkens and creep colonies up. But this Terran player's moving across the map really, really fast, so this can be a little bit obnoxious if you are slightly delayed. The Zerglings are coming in from behind, trying to pick off the medics, trying to pick off these Marines. And I'd like you to know, we did say that there were 2 broad goals. One was to get the third, get the hive, get the lurkers, get these things. But the first was to stay alive. That's exactly what we're seeing. I do think that our Zerg hero kind of misread how up against the wall he was. I think he overbuilt Zerglings. He cleans this shit up, no problem. Didn't even really lose that much at the front, just lost a single sunken colony. The Mutalisks are getting built now. Okay, I think we're back on track. But I am choosing this as the second replay to show because I want you to recall one of my statements that you may not have picked up on as strongly as I intended it to be picked up on. You don't have to rush out the 3rd hatchery. There are things like the Mutalisks. Get those Mutalisks fast, man. They are your tool. Get that timing. Oh, delightfully crisp, man. 13 hatch, 12 gas, 22 gas. Get the layer first. Build the Spire. Cut units when the Spire's halfway done so you have precisely 9 Mutalisks as fast as possible with a good economy. That's what I'm talking about with Mutalisks. For the 3rd base, no, you don't need to go fast. We see, it's hard to see because it's in the corner, but I'm going to make the box. You see a little drone hidden behind this UI here. This drone is preparing to go for the 3rd hatch. Is it safe? One of the reasons why many Terrans favor this +1 upgrade aggro marine build, it's about to finish. Normally finishes just around 7 minutes, so I thought I had it. Ah, there we go, 7:02. The reason many players are favoring this build a shitload of Marines out of 5 barracks with +1 style is so that the Terran can continue to make Zerg feel uncomfy to turn this into a hatchery. Zerg is getting a bunch of Mutalisks. Again, these are the big delay tools for Zerg. Zerg is still doing the same steps of getting the Hydrostat and the Queen, but let's look at, tactically speaking, how can Zerg comfortably get this? And I think this is one of the things that is both easiest and hardest to understand about getting to the mid-game in Zerg vs. Terran. From the easy-to-understand perspective, Zerg needs his units to create enough obvious space that Zerg can build an expansion, send some Hydras there to become lurkers, and defend it. It's obvious. You just look at the game state and you go, am I safe? Yes? No? Okay. But it's hard because you're actually making judgment calls. You're making judgment calls and you're trying to do lots of split-second decision-making, like this little play here from Hero, where he is running back behind the Marines. Why? To force these things to wander a little farther back. If the Terran player is back here with his Marines and Medics, Terran does not see that much. Whereas if Hero can get to a position like this and see, hey, Marines are here, I got my Zerglings here, all his units are somewhere in this box. You know what? This is a good time to maybe get ready to expand. I'm not going to not get my lurkers. I want to get those absolutely 1000%. I want to get my hive up absolutely 1000%. But now all of a sudden Zerg is going to begin to say, hey, let me try to start doing some moves that will maybe make you retreat. Remember, this is not really here to kill workers. This is good. It's that the killing of the workers will hopefully force the Marine Medic to come back. Now, in a stupid sense, if Terran says, I'm never defending my main again, and goes gung-ho, and you, the Zerg player, kill all the SCVs... You okay, Despy? I think my cat tried to jump up and really messed up badly. If the Terran literally throws his hands up and sacrifices his base for nothing, I mean, you have a bunch of creep colonies here. You have lurkers coming soon. Yeah, you're going to win on 2 base versus the Terran's 0 base, but any reasonable Terran will build a buttload of missile turrets. We'll have a lot of Marines around here coming back, pulling back. And I think that this game highlights an issue that you can have as a Zerg player. Yeah, there's harassment happening here, but Zerg's a little overly worried about his front. Zerg has started the lurker aspect, but hasn't started the third yet, because Zerg's a little low on resources. Zerg's, I think, been a little flustered from the start of the game when all those Marines kind of came and battered down the front door. Why harass the supply depots? Because Zerg's really looking for anything to harass. Just anything to keep these Marines pulled out and maybe making mistakes. These Mutalisks will now return back to the kind of clear established core position, which is, okay, is there any units kind of coming out of the front here? Still in the main base, the Queen's Nest coming up, and now Zerg's finally starting to say, you know what? I got Lurker started, I got Queen started, you see on the minimap Mutalisks moving around. I am about ready to build this third. A much slower third base in this game compared to the last game. A much, much, much slower third base in this game compared to the last game. It's okay. You're just trying to get up any old third base at all safely. This is what Zerg's worried about the longer the time goes on. Yeah, Zerg's at the back and maybe might even kill off this engineering bay before it finishes the armor upgrade. But when Mutalisks or Zerglings or whatever starts to see this giant limbo line of Marines come out, this doesn't feel so safe anymore. Doesn't feel so safe anymore. Lurker aspect is not done yet, and no lurkers were moved down here. Let me actually rewind in time to the 7-minute mark, because I want you to see what happens when it comes to the timing of the Hydralisk Den. You don't need to get the third up really fast, but my god, when this Hydra Den is done, this Hydra Den was done and lurkers could be afforded at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's see how long it takes for Lurker Aspect to get started. Okay, we gotta get lurkers. Okay. Why does Zerg not have money? Oh yeah, this is when Sean was pointing out all the sunken colonies at the front. Okay, yeah, okay. It's been 30 seconds. Okay. Oh, look at that. Took 30 seconds before our Zerg player Hero started the Hydralisk Den. Now, when does this big Marine force get to where... Actually, I should say, when did the Hydralisk aspect finish? It finished just seconds ago. It finished a little after 9 minutes. If this had finished 30 seconds ago, you know what could have happened? There could have been lurkers morphing and done right now. There could have been lurkers morphing and done right now. This lurker aspect, because the Zerg player was distracted for about 30 seconds, lurkers got delayed by 30 seconds. Ugh. Grody, grody, grody. So now we're kind of back to where we were before, and there's two things that I want to emphasize at this moment. Yeah, Mutalisk Harass is nice. Yeah, maybe, you know, killing off of this engineering bay is good, because, you know, Terran isn't going to get the +1 armor. That's great, that's great. But Zerg doesn't have a third base yet. And here's where there winds up being some interesting decision moments. This is some more of this really scary mid-game pressure that can exist. If lurkers were done 30 seconds ago, this is easy to hold off. As scary as that looked, Zerg was not actually under any duress. Zerg was going to be fine in terms of the defense of this, even with no lurkers, but the real danger is now, man, where do you expand as Zerg? If you're Terran, being this far forward, with just a scan down in this bottom left corner and a worker going to the top right corner, yeah, you just know Zerg doesn't have a third base and you're crushing it. You're in excellent shape. This is part of the struggle of getting to the mid-game as Zerg, is that Zerg can't lose right now, but is not set up to be in a position to win right now. Terran has dominated and gotten a good edge, largely because Zerg was 30 seconds late on this, and didn't use the Mutalisk to delay as much. A lot of little things compounded for Zerg, and now Zerg's in kind of a weird situation. So what to do? In the days of old, many Zerg players would just flip out and kind of give up. seriously, in like 2005, 6, 7, Zergs would be like, I don't have a third, I hate my life. Well, let's go ahead and look at some of the things that our Zerg hero is doing. He's still getting the Defiler, but because he has a drone up in the top right and a drone down here in the bottom left, kind of hidden in the corner above this expansion, Zerg returns back to the same sort of shenanigans. Using Ling, Muta, trying to find different angles to attack. And once Zerg's down here and goes, you know what, I think actually this is safe. Why? Because Zerg was able to get 2 Hydras over there, turn them into lurkers, and now burrow them at the top of the ramp. His little obnoxious tactics, great. Zerg will be economically hurt, but Zerg will get to continue the game because Zerg will soon enough have Defilers, soon enough have a Nidus network. And as an extra little bonus, if you're a new player, or I should say if you are an aspiring tryhard, don't even worry about getting Guardians. I personally will say if you're in a situation where you think the Terran player is a little bit low on his starport tech, if you feel safe because you have lurkers and Zerglings, you feel safe because again you have lurkers and defenses, sometimes getting a greater spire to morph some Guardians can be really, really nice. The Terran player doesn't have Wraiths, doesn't have Science Vessels to be able to deal with these Guardians. So you can build a few. Not masses of Guardians, just a pinch, just a skosh of Guardians. So this game should highlight the importance of not getting flustered if you're Zerg, making sure the lurkers are coming out quickly, the hive is coming out quickly, and the third base can actually come down eventually. That can be a little bit delayed. Smart play here by Hero, having 5 Mutalisks continue to wiggle around, so that way the Terran player doesn't suspect these obnoxious-ass Guardians here. So this is, first of all, the #1 thing that you should never do with Guardians is walk directly into range of missile turrets. You actually outrange missile turrets as Zerg, so just don't do this. If you 1A the Guardians, you will wind up going straight into range here. But look at this! Zerg suffered a near insta-death at the start of the game. Then Zerg suffered a sort of existential death possibility, which is Zerg not getting up a third base. And now here, Byhero has successfully gotten himself the third. The Nidus Canal's getting done. He's doing some harassment damage. Defiler Mound. Defilers already have researched. Consume. And we see one of the real struggle bear danger moments if you are a Zerg player. Is losing out on one of those lurkers at the high ground ramp. And if you're Terran, you just go, alright, I'm running right by that shit. And even though Zerg was, I would say, 10 seconds from stabilizing, Terran breaks through, kills this off, and Zerg is kind of in bad shape for the rest of the game. Zerg tries to do some counter-harass shit. But in a lot of ways, it doesn't matter if you're Zerg anymore. Zerg doesn't have a third base, which is what Zerg needs in order to stay alive. So this is kind of the Zerg struggle semi-failure status. Wraiths eventually come out. It might have looked somewhat bad, but remember, 2-base Terran is horrifying. What's going to happen is the wind is going to just continue to make, out of 2 starports, lots of science vessels. Out of 5 barracks, soon enough 7 barracks, a lot of Marines, and just punish Hero for having not had a third. This is a game-losing situation for the Zerg player. Zerg might be able to get lucky and get some amazing kills on Marines and stuff, but it's just... If Terran is even playing half intelligently, he'll win this game pretty handily. And if I go to the end, I think that's actually what happens. Yeah, this is... I want to showcase this end because I want you to note that if I zoom forward 5-6 minutes, Zerg still just does not have a third base. Like, this is still the mid-game. This is still the mid-game, but Terran is actually getting more bases, and things are looking quite grim. I want to look at another rather similar game that Hero played against Sea Shield, where we're going to see kind of a struggle to get this third base up, but we're going to see it done a little bit more excellently. Now, which game was it? I have so many replays of him, I cannot remember. Is it this 1921 game? Yes, it is. Gosh, I'm so good. Oh my god, Dana, I'm so sick. So in this game, we have Hero against the famous Terran player Sea Shield, or C for short, S-E-A-C. Not like, you know, now I know my ABCs. And we're going to see a struggle for the Zerg player to get up his third base due to mid-game Terran pressure. We're going to see our hero, Byhero, execute this extremely well. So what do we see out of Terran? Terran is going for this academy after 2 barracks. We already saw this in the very first game. This signals fast stim. This signals fast pressure. But also there's just not that many Marines because it's 2 barracks. It's not 5 barracks. And 5 is oftentimes much larger than 2. We see the same sort of theme where Zerg is not building lots of Zerglings, just kind of some. Let's watch only the tactics that Zerg will do. Up in the production tab, I'll occasionally reference what's being built. Zerglings come to the side. Little way to gain a few seconds. Trying to run over here, maybe pick off this medic. Trying to stay back. Maybe poking at the front, seeing if there's vulnerability here. There is. Okay, so Zerg pulls back. What's Zerg doing in the meantime? Look at this. I love this. Oh, beautiful. Calmly building 2 sunken colonies. Not 4 or 7 or something. Not some sort of panicked response, but just something nice and calm. And this is already just too much defense here. Terran can try to come in here, but with the Zerglings going in here, and with these target firing correctly, you can even pick off the medics. There's actually only 1 medic here, which is the big reason. This guy is a Marine. This is just not that scary of a force. 2 sunken colonies can actually kill this off. So both players recognize this. You'll see on the minimap there's no drone up here in the top right. There's no drone here in the bottom left. Going up to 3 barracks we see out of our Terran hero. Zerg, though. Watch, this is great. This is great. Let's speed it up a little bit. Zerg is right now hitting the start of that mid-game phase. Zerg is moving. Zergling's up to the right, sees that there's a firebat there. So right now, Terran has absolutely no idea where the Zerg player is trying to expand. He only knows that Zerg needs to expand in order to be okay. Here's a Mutalisk coming out. Firebats attempted to move down here. And this is where you saw in the very first game, in a normal match, where everything's kind of orthodox and straightforward, no problem. This drone just walks to the bottom left and expands. This can't happen this game. We'll see why in a moment. By the way, happy 4-year to Cerebral09, Mr. Willard, with the mods here. What a happy 4-year anniversary. Mutalisks here, what do? Well, they definitely want to try to delay this little force. Occasionally try to make forays into this bottom side, which is fine. Let me remove this particular tab. Let's just briefly note, wow, this really cool harassment's coming in. Lurkers, Hive. I want to stress what's interesting about this sort of harassment. See all these Marines here? Imagine these Mutalisks moved to right where my cursor is right now, right into this location. These Marines would have a nice arc, and they would blow up the shit out of these Mutalisks. In other words, Mutalisks never want to hit walls of Marines. They want to hit the point. Mutalisks would ideally like to come down and snip off these two. Right? So, often when you'll see this wall, where you'll be the Mutalisks here, you'll want to retreat. Let's take a look at what Hero does here, that I actually think is a really noteworthy tactic if you're trying to look for ways to deal damage with Mutalisks. Here's a Mutalisk coming in. If you see all of these Marines coming in here, most of the time you want to run away, but if you're all the way back here in the corner, often, by virtue of being this far back, the Marines can only approach you by coming in at points. These structures make walls where Marines can slip through like this, or slip through like this, or have to funnel up here. So weirdly, this bottom right area is a pretty good place to micro from if you got the mutas. It's also horrifyingly dangerous, but it can be pretty good. And similarly, there's this sort of wall of turrets, and the Mutalisks just keep moving around on this side. And Sea Shield notices this, and he's like, oh wait, I can actually just move forward. We see the Hive getting researched here, boink. We see the Lurkers, boom, getting built. And we see these Hydras moving down to this bottom side to try to defend this expansion. But if you're Hero, you don't need a third really fast, you just need it eventually. So Hero makes a nice judgment call, and he goes, dude, you know what? I'm dealing damage here in the main base. I'm picking off some SCVs. I'm being annoying. Let me actually change plans, and I'm going to expand to this top right area. See, these Lurkers are like, you can literally see the judgment act happening right there for Hero. And he just bails on this whole expansion. And then he sends another drone and more Hydras to the other side. This is going to sound... It's stupid for me to say this, but this took me a really long time to understand that Zerg was looking for safety for an expansion. Because now, as this is moving up here, we have some Lurkers morphing mid-map. You know, not maybe ideal. Ideally, these guys would already be in position here, but okay, fair enough. And this little tactical maneuver here from Hero is what separates the men from the boys, right? Hero goes, whoop, my lurkers are not in a good position. I need to get them to a good position, and then finds an opportunity to use his lurkers in the middle of the map to help battle against this Marine medic force. He's trying to get these to the ramp. He can't quite get them there. So he takes this ragtag group of 2 lurkers, smattering of mutalisks, and a lurker, and starts trying to make his way to push up here against a small number. He still has his lurkers here. Okay, here's some more Marines. The 3rd is still getting constructed. Some crazy, more complex tactics that are happening in this particular game. And then with the reinforcement of Zerglings, whew, we ideally would have liked to make drones that whole time, but geez, we really needed to survive this tactically. And now, oh goodness, we got the lurkers here at the ramp. We got the 3rd base getting started. We have our Nidus Canal. We have some defenses at the front. But most importantly, excuse me, of all, our consume is done for defilers. We see the Carapace upgrade. Great. Zerg has successfully arrived at what looks like a comfortable start of mid-game for him. Alright, cool. I want to start going through games a little bit faster, because I hope you're appreciating this basic concept that it's very tactical trying to secure the 3rd base as Zerg. It involves mutalisks doing intelligent things. Actually, this is not a game that I intended to show, but it's just literally, it's literally too perfect. I've shown it so many times. My god, Day 9 shows us so much. It's really all about tactics with the Lings, the Mutas, and then buying time for the lurkers to get into position. This game, I swear to god, if I show this game anymore, just literally reach through your monitors and punch me in the face. After, of course, liking and subscribing. This is Innovation versus Jaedong, and one of the big reasons why I like this particular game... Oops, I need to come back to 7 minutes. One of the big reasons why I like this game is what Jaedong does with his mutalisks here. This game is a brilliant depiction of precisely how little mutalisks need to do harassment damage-wise in order to be wildly effective. You heard me talk about you want to delay as much as possible. This particular map has this double bridge, which is a very nice thing to exploit as mutalisks. Marines will naturally form lines of Marines, so you can assault the point of Marines here. Sometimes Marines will be here and here, so you go to whichever group is smaller and you punish that. Sometimes Marines will be trying to come up this hill, so you can shoot them before they have vision of you. Let's just follow these mutalisks. Hero has been relatively sort of gung-ho about getting in the main base with his mutas, but let's take a look at what Jaedong does in this game. He has 11 mutas, which is the money amount. He's literally going to just float around these Marines. He's not going to do anything else. And weirdly enough, I'm using literally. Isn't that odd? He's just looking for small deficiencies. Oh, see how he's going to come at the point of this? Trying to isolate just a few of these Marines. Maybe let me come around to this angle. He's just on the hunt. After all this stim, these medics used to have quite a bit of energy, but you're seeing they're starting to run low. 23 energy, 40 energy, 80 energy. That right there was an example of a bad angle. Again, a full semicircle of Marines. Picking away at the mutalisks. Oh, there's some stragglers. There's a straggler. More stragglers. And then Jaedong notices, aha, you have split up your forces. This is maximum abuse of terrain. Jaedong is at a point where he actually has more mutalisks than Innovation has Marines here. Not going to do something stupid, like bomb in there and just try to sacrifice himself. Remember, Innovation is making these Marines 3 at a time, and has more behind. Jaedong does not want to make more mutalisks. But look at how not harassy these mutalisks are. For the worker field, at least. These mutalisks are just trying to pick off Marines, pick off Marines, pick off Marines, to the point where Innovation's like, dude, I don't want to leave my base. I just want to go home. Isn't this beautiful? Isn't this elegant? Excellent control. We've seen this game so many times, Day 9. I have fun pretending to be your hatred. Liquid Rhett, once upon... Or is he even in Liquid now? I don't even know. But Rhett said once upon a time, he doesn't even like going Mutalisks on maps that don't have that sort of terrain to exploit. And I don't want you to think of that as like the hard, fast rule, but rather that's... You can see how good Mutalisks are with that sort of terrain there. So this is a game between Hero and Mung. Mung is, he was not an OG top-tier Terran. He's one of these big streamers, broadcast jockeys, or BJs, as they call them on Afrika. I don't know why it's such do they not know what acronyms mean in English? The answer is no. The answer is no. Broadcast jockey is the name that they chose. It's BJs. So Mung is a famous BJ in Korea. Just an excellent modern Terran player. Really rose to prominence late in 2012 and so. Post StarCraft 2. Engineering Bay coming out from Mung. Same old coming out from Hero. Let's take a look at how this mid-game pans out. And what we think about the steps that each of these players are taking. What are we seeing out of Mung? Okay, it's this fast upgrade into 5, count it, 5 barracks. Yes. Does Zerg need to build a whole bunch of sunken colonies? We've seen sunken colonies getting built in almost all of these games, but here, check the answer to this. No, it's not really. Because Hero has a variety of Zerglings, around 11 right now, and he just sees that he's not under pressure. In the other games, Zergs would see the Terrans moving out early. Why is that? Well, because Terrans were getting 2 barracks and then very, very early stim and very, very early medics that they could push out at like 5 minutes. Here, Hero doesn't see it, so Hero doesn't need to do it. So Hero actually has almost enough money to build 9 Mutalisks and expand. Oh, well, isn't that special? Now, I used to go, like, absolutely, like, fist pump crazy and be like, I'm expanding really fast, I'm amazing, aren't I excellent? Don't get addicted to the drug that is, I built an early 3rd base. Don't do that, don't do that. Remember, the Mutalisks are essential. The Lurkers are essential. I mean, good, build it fast, but not at the expense of your tech pieces. So Zerg, the speed Zerglings, aren't they wonderful? We have enough to be able to see what the Terran player is doing. A lot of Zerg eyes are often just loitering here, seeing what's up. Come on, come on. Don't you want to grow up big and strong and be an expansion? Nope, totally fine to wait. Totally fine to delay. And now the Mutalisks are out. Able to deflect, defray, Hydra Den, Queen's Nest. Notably, look at what is not here in this particular game. Sunken colonies. All these other games had very fast sunken colonies because the Zerg player felt like he was going to die. He was very worried, he was very woeful. Here we have no fancy terrain. This is the most open terrain that you will see in any modern map. There's not even doodads. Most maps have like a little, you know, tree that's fallen over or a tank corpse and you can't stand on that. But here this is completely open terrain and many Zerg players again are super reticent to engage in these types of environments. Well, first of all, this drone's about to turn into the hatchery. Queen's Nest Lurker en route. You're starting to see the same themes here again. But just taking some Zerglings and hurling them in, giving room for your Mutalisks to do the same micro that they know and love. But instead, the Zerglings are there to absorb some extra fire so the Mutalisks can do an even better job. Glorious. Glory be, praise be to Mutus. Doesn't it suck to be this drone? Doesn't it suck? Don't you wish that this guy got the chance to be turned in to a drone or turned into a hatchery? It sucks. It really does. It's okay. You'll get messed with in the stupidest of ways. You'll get messed with in the dumbest ways. A single Marine. I said this before, I'll say it again, I'll say it a million times. This mid-game, getting to mid-game, is very tactical. It's very much about positioning, identifying strength and weakness by looking and seeing his army and making correct judgments off that. And sometimes dumb stuff like Mr. Marine here comes and just kills your drone after you get the big win in the middle of the map. Don't stress, don't panic. This is not a game where you need lots of minerals quickly. It's a game where you need a sufficient amount of gas long term. It was great Mutalisk harassment. Catching these Marines away from any medic. A lot of Mutalisks did get lost here. And what do we do with that? What do we think about that? Well, amazingly, despite the fact that Terran has gone for 5 barracks, opened up with a very mid-game, pressure-heavy style of build, Zerg just expanded down here to this bottom side. Oh, well, all that nonsense was going on. We have 3 Hydralisks heading down there. We have drones marching in a giant limbo line down to the bottom side. Hives coming. Evolution chambers en route as well. This is actually shit that I used to do, where I used to go, alright, well, Mutalisks have served their purpose. I don't need those to be alive anymore. This is great. Look at this. Look at this. A Marine and 4 medics. Oh, yeah. Oh, awesome. Great. What's Zerg doing at home? He's building drones. Most of the time, you can't send drones across the map. You gotta wait for the Nidus network. Hero, he doesn't want to wait. He wants to get married to sending his drones across map right now. Look at all these drones. Look at this fleet, man. Look at them. Oh my gosh, don't they look? They're like wildlife in the open world RPG before you showed up and started killing everything. Like they feel no fear, no threat at all. Significant to note, Hero is not changing his build order. He's not becoming a different Zerg. He's not suddenly trying to rebuild Mutalisks to continue to harass. The purpose of the Mutalisks are to buy the time. The time's been bought. Defiler mounds en route. And yes, Mung is going to move out and try to deal damage. Can't do it because there's already 3 lurkers here. By the way, you like this? That's 2 lurkers. See down here? There's 1. There's 2. Spread out, this looks like there's 2 lurkers. Very easy to misread this as Terran and try to stim up the ramp and get your ass killed. Here comes Mung Racer. He's a demon on wheels. Sees this? I didn't see this the first time. I don't know if you guys caught what happened there. Yeah, this is why 3 lurkers on a ramp are just A-okay. Okay, so... Oh my god, holy shit, that is hilarious. Oh my gosh, okay. Allow me to share with you, this is just a nugget. This is just a nugget. Never do this. And we're literally going to see Mung completely ruin his own life doing it. Never do this, okay? Zergs always stack lurkers on top of each other. If those lurkers aren't going to be moving for a while, you stack those puppies on top like this is America, and these are stacks of cheese and beef. This is your hamburger ramp. What do you want? A triple triple? A quadruple quadruple? Go for it. Stack them up. That's great. So Mung is in a really bad spot, so he goes, you know what? I'm going to research blind. Optic Flare, or for short blind, is an ability medics have where they can fire at a unit and set its sight radius to 0. It cannot see anything when its sight radius is 0. So, if you blind one of these lurkers, you didn't do anything, man. You blinded one lurker. Pfft. The other lurker can see just fine, and this one can acquire targets using the other one's vision. Alright, but when there's only 2 of them, maybe if I blind both the lurkers... 1, 2... Look, it's a blind lurker! Oh, it's a blind... Oh, wait, no, it's not a blind lurker, because there's 2 lurkers here. The other lurker that was stacked on top of it, he sees all this shit, man. Oh, that's so funny, dude. Oh my god. I'd like you to note this is also why stacking lurkers is good against science vessels, because a science vessel can only irradiate one lurker, and then we have to wait for that one to die, and you can irradiate the second one, and then we have to wait for that to die. Little tips and tactics. And so now Hero has set himself up to be in just this beautiful situation. Absolutely beautiful. Monga's going to try to come from the top side. There's an attempt to take an expansion. It's easy with lurkers and dark swarms. Super easy, no problem. Super easy lemon squeezy. I clean my stuff using Febreze. Where is this all I want to do for this game? Yeah, great. So this game was a little derpy in ways. For one, the Zerg didn't get to expand here due to a single Marine, but you see that Zerg is in an absolutely amazing position. Zerg has almost the same supply as Terran, which is horrific. Ah, it's really, 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 really bad. Normally, Terran wants to be ahead by like 30 or 40 supply at this point. So this is a dominating position for Hero. Hero has successfully got to the mid-game. Let's keep looking at games. Let's keep looking at games, and great. Allocated about an hour and a half to this shit. Whereas by Hero TVZ, we just looked at, yes, Among versus Hero. Let's take a look at Light versus Hero. This is Hero in the corner, and this orange Terran player under the ID Star Master. He is our Terran hero. Star Master, again, Light, one of the most famous attacking Terrans in the history of Brood War, even now. We're going to see something a little different, a little interesting out of Hero. This is an older build that is only done on very specific maps. It's where you go hatchery, spawning pool. I said spawning pool. Why don't you want to select the spawning pool? Spawning pool instantly into gas to get the fastest layer you possibly can. Oh, sorry, the layer's over here. You get the fastest layer you possibly can. Now, let's think about this. I've been showing you a bunch of 3-hatch games. Then, or excuse me, 3-hatch games. So Zerg is able to get up a good amount of mutas and drones and Zerglings because Zerg has lots of larvae. Zerg can get up all these things. And then you use this good enough economy plus these harassing units to get you up a 3rd base. What do we think about 2-hatch plays? What's the whole goal of Zerg in this? Zerg's trying to get to 3 base, trying to get to Defilers, trying to get himself up into feeling really, really comfortable. If you open up with these 2-hatch plays, you often get Mutalisks much sooner. And the idea is you're hoping you can deal even more damage and prevent any sort of weird harassment stuff by being the aggressor. But Hero elects to do this kind of tricksy play, which is you get this 3rd hatchery at a weird spot. Now, often, if you go with a 2-hatch Mutalisk build, your claim is that you can take an ultra-fast 3rd base, defend it with your ultra-fast Mutalisks, that you will naturally follow with ultra-fast Hydralisks, and the only thing that you're giving up is a bunch of drones. So once you've got those 3 bases up, we'll backtrack, build an extra hatchery, build another hatchery beyond that, just macro hatcheries, hatcheries 4 and 5. And then I think we'll be in good shape. Yeah, I think that sounds good enough. I think that sounds fair. Oh my god, I've been talking non-stop for an hour. So this is often what we'll see out of players who are going for 2-hatch muta openings, followed in by fast 3rd bases. But think about this positioning here. If I actually go to the diplomacy menu, which I think is here, and reveal the entire map, this map, I mean, I guess you could put lurkers on the low ground, but this ramp is much wider than this ramp. And this base also has a big attack path here. This has some defense problems, so it doesn't seem like we, the Zerg player, are going to be able to defend this using just mutas lurkers and lings, at least for the full game. So here's your very fast Mutalisks. I tend to dislike 2-hatch builds that don't have really exploitable terrain. If we actually look in Light's base, look at how underdeveloped Light is. He has 2 barracks. He only just finished this engineering bay, and you can tell because the upgrade is only a little bit done. And he's just started to build some turrets. These Mutalisks are coming out so much faster for Terran, or for Zerg. So Terran has to respond sooner, and thusly cannot do so much. Zerg's even doubling down his Mutalisks, where's that Spire, by going for a Carapace upgrade, making them as sturdy as possible versus those obnoxious little Mariners. Again, looking for stragglers. Finds the straggling medic. Slightly weak micro here, but this is hallmark Light. Light is always... What is this happening? Light is always good at finding opportunities to attack, even when he essentially has no production and very thin defenses. I mean, dude, come on. There's a missile turret here. There's none in the main. There's no turrets in the main base. Oh my god, and there's only 2 here. I mean, Light is really sharp. This is just a I am a smart person play. All you can really have Zerg is Mutalisks. You cannot have a ton of Zerglings. You cannot have a ton of anything else. You're basically a Muta player. So I'm going to force the issue by being aggressive now. Not a build order thing, a tactics thing, identifying that he's weak, and so these types of attacks are possible. Slightly weak micro, but again trying to whittle away at these medics. 30 energy here, 60 energy here, running low. Oops, stragglers. Great, picking off 1. Completely missing an attack command there, which can happen. Light is being magnificent at target firing these Mutalisks down. And this right now, I want you to just cement in your mind. This is why it's okay not to rush for a 3rd base. There are strategies where you can do this and be successful. I think Hero could have been fine if he had microed better with his Mutalisks. That's it. I think that's the #1 reason why this is getting attacked. But the #2 reason why this is getting attacked is that Hero is still on Mutaling and he doesn't have any lurkers here to defend. It's very important to get lurkers or sturdier defenses into place to defend bases against Marine Medic. Marine Medic is the scariest unit in the entire game. Insane damage output. Oh, thank goodness. Barely enough Mutalisks. Okay, what happened in the meantime? Holy goodness, this is why Light is a good player. He built a 3rd and a 4th barracks. He finished his factory. He's almost done with his starport. His +1's almost done. Look at how swift Light is with his build order. It's just an incredible pace. So, Hero's in a bit of a bind right now. He could try to rush for Defilers. But Light almost has tanks, vessels, and a science facility done. This is an uncomfortable position, but kind of funnily enough, the way that older Zerg vs. Terran worked, and there's still some legitimacy to it. Where's that Hydralisk den? Ha, here it is. In times of old, Zerg players used to say, I am not going to delay using only Mutalisks. I'm going to use Mutalisks and Lurkers, and I'm going to fight that Terran player head on while I'm going for a hive. I'll need to get my hive a little later, because I need to make sure I have enough gas to build a big, scary, intimidating army of Lurkers, which is fine. Nothing wrong with this. But we're going to see a little bit of the dangers of this process. So here, I keep going into the main base. This is where the layer is. Let's keep tabs on when we think that this is going to turn into a hive. So some bullshit happened at the start of the game. Where did we wind up? Zerg using Mutalisks, not to dive into the main base and to kill off SCVs or depots, but rather trying to just find straggling Marines. Light is just controlling the shit out of those Marines so well. Just beautifully to make sure that there's no weak points. He is very careful about keeping these clustered all the time. Alright, so Science Vessel is out. Fast progress from Terran. Terran even adding on another barracks. So Zerg is going to do this as much as he can. This is a lot of Marines, so it's hard to find weakness. But also this Science Vessel, you notice it has 73 energy. And over here at the Science Facility, Irradiate's almost done. This is a Muta Ripper. Rips them apart. There it is. Goodbye, Mutas. Goodbye. Great pull by Hero, but from 11 to 3. Darn it. Huge numbers of lurkers can hold off Terran attacks, but we'll see some of the issues with this. Still no hive, although it can get started thanks to this Queen's Nest. So the Mutalisks move in, the Lurkers move in, into mostly good positions, but the instant the Lurker count dwindles in the slightest, and any more Marines show up, Hero has to say GG. So, that game had several different elements from the ones that we've watched. To hatch, not relying on defilers, placing the hatch in a weird position. But I'm hoping this showcases a little bit of why... this is the wrong game that I opened. Hope to showcase a little bit of why the games I've showed you before are considered the norm and standard. They have a little bit more sturdiness, a little bit more flexibility. If you do one whiffed attack with your lurkers, you can kind of feel like the game's over. How are we doing on time? 6:22, no problem. So this is Reality, I think, is the Terran player. And this is Hero again. I want to show you a key aspect to the early mid-game about how threatening Mutalisks are in this particular phase. Why we often see Terrans build so many missile turrets. Because some of what I messed up a lot as a Zerg player is I would think to myself, dude, I am done, man. He has enough Marines up, and he's attacking me. How can I ever break through his force? Oh gosh, he's overwhelming me at the front with so much stuff. I need to be even more defensive. I need to defend even harder than I am. And in this game, we're going to see Reality, the Terran player, just be a little bit too thin with his defense. And Zerg just goes, oh wait, dude, I can just kill you with Ling Muta. We've seen the micro impact of Mutalisks as a defensive unit, but now we'll see the offensive power of it in this particular game. So how does it begin? Well, many times during the build-up phase, where Zerg is building up an expansion and Terran is building up an expansion, people are only making drones, or only making SCVs. And so sometimes, if you just send 4 Marines out, this is a horrible attack force. But it happens to occasionally just win games. Because a Zerg, instead of building 6 Zerglings and then a bunch of drones, built no Zerglings and then a bunch of drones, so you win. Watch this. Reality, she gets toasted, man. She loses some Marines. Everything else is going pretty much as normal. Zerg is not even cutting a lot of drones to build these Zerglings. I mean, this is like 2 or 3 extra sets of Zerglings. So Zerg investigates. Do you really have anything? Yes? Okay. Well, then I can't apply any pressure. We've seen this 2 barracks into Academy play multiple times. Cool. I need to get some water, man. My voice is dry. Engineer Bay coming up. We've seen this a whole bunch of times before. Why are we seeing sunken colonies? Well, because the Zerg player saw some medics and just wants to get enough here to be able to stay alive. Oops, I completely thought I paused it. So you heard me talk about these Zergling Tactics, about coming in at angles and stuff, the Zerg player, once again, is building sunken colonies because he sees medics. Zerg is still getting the Mutalisks. Boink. It's right there. And sometimes Terrans will pull back, and you will have done a good job as a Zerg player delaying the Terran. Excellent. What I would do is I would say there's no way there's any vulnerability here, so I'm not even going to look. What you should do is you should look. Because if you look and there's, like, no medics, just march on in, man. Sitting on top of the barracks, that's the shit right there. Don't go super ham trying to kill SCVs. SCVs are better than Zerglings. I don't know how to put it, they're just better than Zerglings. But if you sit here, Zerglings are great at killing the shit out of Marines. I have claimed that these sunken colonies are needed to defend. We'll now see this in action. Small number of Zerglings, 6, plus a small number of sunken colonies. Not even close, dude. Not even close. And now Mutalisks are getting built. How would I summarize what the experience for Terran was? He made one small misjudgment, lost 3 or 4 Marines. He made another small judgment, lost a Firebat 3 or 4 Marines. He made another small judgment, lost 3 or 4 Marines. And we see that Terran is now saying, aha, we're in mid-game state. Let me move a Firebat here to help deny the third that Zerg will invariably want to place in this corner. Let me resume my build order of getting missile turrets and upgrades and keep making Marines. Okay, let me do that. Alright? I know exactly what I'm doing. I am powerful Terran. Well, I mean, Hero just identifies and says, I think I can just kill you. Let's look at how scary Mutalisks are. I've had so many people ask me since the series began, why is it that Terrans build like 1 billion missile turrets, and they build them in the main base, and they build them around the Expo. Shouldn't you just build 2? That's true in almost every other matchup, but in this matchup, Zerg just kind of goes, oh, yeah, these are a little bit far back. Let me kill off this one. And now that this one's dead, basically all of these SCVs and these are vulnerable. How many SCVs are here? 1, 2... looks like it's 6. It's 6 SCVs. Ooh. Eventually, Zerg will want to go for Hydralisk Den and Queen's Nest and stuff like that, and then take a third base, but building a few extra Mutalisks, if you're doing stupid damage like this, that's okay. Zerg has 11 Mutalisks, more over here. Finds this hatchery, or this turret, starts picking this off. Zerg begins to fly into the main base and starts to realize, oh, wait a minute, you don't have turrets over here? Oh. Well, I'm just going to kill this. Just those flybys picking off any SCV that was finished building a turret or finished building a supply depot. Some Zerglings also getting produced. And here is just a super common game-ending tactic. Once the Marine count is low enough, you know that Terran has to put a bunch of Marines back into the main base to kill the Mutas. So when the Terran is back here, and you can see the Marines, emphasis on see the Marines, Mutalisks don't actually have a very long vision radius. But once you see those, you just march those Zerglings in the front, man. Come on, Zerglings. Come on, little Zerglings. I think you may wait for everything. Oh yeah, here we go. Micros at the ramp, because the Marines are coming down in a long line, so he can attack the tip of the line of Marines. And you know where the biggest, most vulnerable location in the entire base is? This. This is the heart of the Terran base. If you can get onto these barracks, this ends the game. He's producing Marines, 3 at a time, and you're just killing them the instant they come out. And then you can just send 4 or 6 Zerglings, however many you want, to finish off everything else. So this is why Terran players build so many turrets. This is why Terran players have to stay so defensive when they see Mutalisks, and why it's such a powerful unit in the game. Because the instant you start losing your footing as Terran, the Mutalisks will end the game. Alright, we got 2 more games that I want to be able to get through today. Alright, this is another game between Reality and Hero. I'm going to go very fast through the start of the game. This is a slightly cheeky way to go for 3 bases. There's risks here. This is a better version of the fast 2-hatch Mutalisk into a greedy 3rd. This is just, you put your 3rd hatchery at the 3rd base. Often builds like this fast engineering bay build for Terran, it winds up being strong later, but it's a little slow in getting out the stim and the medics and the stuff like that. So one of the ways that you can do this is you can, instead of going for Mutalisks to delay, you go Lurkers first. And then you are building the Hydralisks right from the start of the game. Where are the Hydras? I think they just build the Hydras right here. Look at the Terrans. Terran just now has these medics. Is about halfway done with stim. Okay, now he's done with stim. He's halfway when I try to start scrolling. Alright. And the Lurkers get here. Lurker aspect is almost done. And... alright. And meanwhile in the main base, yeah, okay, cool. There's the Lurkers. Look at this! Oh my god, this Zerg is on 3 bases! Liquid Ret actually did this, a similar build order, in the StarCraft Remastered launch event. Ret went for an ultra-fast Lurker, and then ran 2 of them over here and then expanded. This is a variation of that. You do an ultra-fast 3rd base, and then pretty quick Lurkers, and you put them on over here. This can be really good, but if Terran sees that you're doing this, Terran can just begin to go across the map and punish the shit out of you. And let's see this happen in this game. What's in this main base? No turrets. What's at this expansion? No turrets. You don't need to do that. You just flood Marines like crazy. Terran senses that it's actually just 2 Lurkers. Okay. Terran sweeps through all this, and Terran can actually expand right now, because there's just no Mutalisk threat. A weird move that a lot of... actually Jadong popularized, is if you go Lurker first, you then get Mutalisks, and ooh, aren't you tricky? Ah, you weren't expecting me, but I got my Death Killer Mutas anyways. Oh, I'm so awesome, and I got my 3rd base up. This is an acceptable style. This is an acceptable way to play the game. It is acceptable to very quickly take a 3rd base. It's really easy to lose if Terran just sees it and kills you. It's very easy for you to almost one-up yourself, where, oh, you go for these Mutalisks, and you get here, Terran doesn't have any defenses, but it doesn't matter. Such as in this game. SCVs are dying. I mean, that's obviously not good. Marines are arriving in very large numbers. Seems good. Terran also almost has a 3rd base. Also has some units over here. Also has a bunch of units over here. Terran does not need as many turrets if Terran has the largest number of Marines humanly possible. So these Mutalisks aren't able to do the most amount of things compared to what they did before. Part of the reason why Mutas first and Lurkers second is the norm, is that even when Terran knows that it's coming, every single game, it's still good. This caught Terran off guard, did some damage, and is now really not winding up being that effective. But still appreciate that we're winding up in roughly the same mid-game scenario. Terran just has a faster third, and we had a faster third. It's okay. Last game that we're going to look at before we do some brief discussions of late game Zerg vs. Terran tactic tree. I'm going to step into one last game between... where is it? I had a replay and it's gone. It's forever gone. Is it this one? Is it Sharp vs. Hero? I have a replay in my notes that doesn't exist anywhere. So, screw it. Screw that game. We don't even need to look at it. We're going to look at a random game between Sharp and Hero that I've never seen before. You still have Innkeeper on? I do not. It is turned off. Yeah, it's totally turned off. Refresh your page. It should be gone afterwards. Let's look at this opening that I've never seen before. Because why not? And then let's take a brief break. Very fast extractor, common opening if you want to be doing 2-hatch. 2-hatch itself is not common, but this is the most common variation of 2-hatch as you start off and you get yourself a really fast speed and layer at the same time. What do we see out of Sharp? Sharp is going for a real basic-ass build. Not saying that he's a basic-ass build, but this is a basic-ass build. Very fast 2-hatch Mutalisk. And why build this here? Dude, I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you. I think it's strictly better to just build it up here at this third base area. But one of the reasons why players do build structures closer to their main base is so that they're all packed together and easier to defend. So Sharp is doing this 2 barracks pressure opening into fast engineering bay. This is what Light did versus Hero. And we'll now see... Well, God, this is exactly why I do not like this kind of opening. Alright, now Zerg is not screwed, because remember, that was an ultra fast third base. So now Zerg just needs to get back into the regular struggle of trying to get up a typically timed third base. But Zerg really only has Mutalisks, and therefore has to maximally micro the shit out of his Mutalisks in order to win. And I don't know if he can do it. Got a very good opening there against Sharp. You heard me say that behind the mineral patch was a really common strong spot? Well, there it is. Being common and being strong. Jeez Louise, that was great micro. So for a while, when players like Jaedong, July were getting really exceptional with their Mutalisk control, players just thought, yeah, dude, I'm just going to 2-hatch every single game and just micro my opponent to death. And you can kind of see why this was popular. Because it can work. This is very risky because look at the minimap. There's no third base for Zerg at all. Oh my gosh, this makes me want to go 2-hatch Mutalisk again. Oh god, Mutalisks are a good unit. It's like almost no SCVs here, that's so funny. You can also see one of the reasons why 2-hatch has fallen out of popularity. You just don't have a lot of drones, and you need an economy to be able to transition. So, anytime, if you're a Zerg player, you want to do a transition, most people tend to just think of, oh, now is a good time to make that transition. It's because most normal build orders give you a lot of drones, and 2-hatch doesn't. Just great micro. So, the big lesson that I want, the big set of lessons I want to deliver to you before I take my little break, and then we'll briefly talk about some late-game Zerg vs. Terran tactics, is that the mid-game is a very tense time for Zerg, And the tools that Zerg need to use are very good positioning, very good Mutalisk micro, trying to distract and draw Marines away, trying to pick them off a little at a time to be able to do this, take a third, set the lurkers down, and then set up defenses in all the right places. And your main, your natural expansion, using sunken colonies to defend conditionally is strong. Using lurkers to defend the other ramp is strong. But most of all, lots of Mutalisk micro and positioning. And make sure you're focused on that force that's moving out, not on trying to deal lots of damage in the main base. And some of these variations help highlight strengths and weaknesses in good and bad plays. But especially as you're doing that control, follow up with the fast lurkers and the fast defilers. You need those. You don't necessarily need the third to happen as quick as possible. You just need that third eventually. And then all those other things will come. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll do a little bit of a discussion of late game tactics for Zergs and Terrans.